Ambassador Sarah Chen walked through the massive doors of the Galactic Council chambers. Her heart pounded in her chest. This was the moment humanity had worked toward for 3 years. The chamber stretched before her like a cathedral made of light and crystal. 7 species sat in a semicircle, each representative perched on platforms designed for their unique bodies. Sarah took her place at the center podium. The holographic display above her head showed Earth rotating slowly, blue and green and beautiful. She had practiced her speech 1,000 times, but now the words felt heavy on her tongue. Honored council members, she began. Humanity requests formal membership in the Galactic Council. We come in peace, seeking friendship and knowledge. The nearest representative leaned forward. Jakarn was his name, though Sarah still struggled with the clicking sounds in the middle. He looked like a praying mantis the size of a human, covered in deep purple chitin that gleamed under the chamber lights. His compound eyes reflected her image 100 times over. We have reviewed your application, Ambassador Chen, Jakarn said. His voice came through a translator that made it sound oddly musical. Your species shows great promise. However, we have concerns. Sarah felt her stomach tighten. 3 years of negotiations and now concerns? What troubles the council? She asked. Another representative spoke up. This one was Velshara, a being of flowing energy contained in a crystalline form. Her voice sounded like wind chimes. We have studied your history extensively, Ambassador. Your species has created an impressive network of peaceful institutions, the United Nations, the International Court of Justice, hundreds of peace treaties and diplomatic agreements. Sarah smiled with relief. Yes, we've worked hard to build a peaceful civilization. Too hard, Jakarn interrupted. In our analysis, humanity has spent an unusual amount of energy avoiding conflict. Your entire global structure seems designed to prevent war at any cost. That's because we value peace, Sarah said, not understanding where this was going. Jakarn's head tilted in what might have been sympathy. Ambassador, there is no shame in being a peaceful species. The Council protects many such civilizations. Your diplomacy is admirable, but your military capabilities are concerning in their weakness, Sarah blinked. Weakness? We have reviewed your historical records, Velshara said gently. Your last major conflicts were over a century ago. Since then, your military forces have dwindled. Your weapons development has slowed. You have clearly evolved past the need for violence. We have maintained our militaries, Sarah protested. We have armed forces in every nation. Yes, Jakarn agreed. Ceremonial forces mostly. Honor guards, small peacekeeping units. Nothing that suggests capability for true combat. He gestured with a blade-like forearm. This is not criticism, Ambassador. Many species reach this stage of evolution. The Planari, for example, dissolved all military structures 400 years into their space age. They now create the most beautiful art in the galaxy. Sarah opened her mouth to correct them, to explain that humanity's military forces were anything but ceremonial. She wanted to tell them about the carrier groups, the Marine Corps, the Special Forces units. But something made her pause. If the Council saw humanity as peaceful, maybe that was good for first impressions. We appreciate the Council's understanding, she said carefully. The vote came quickly, 6 in favor, 1 abstaining. Humanity was accepted into the Galactic Council with full membership rights and responsibilities. Then came the condition. Given your species classification, Jakarn announced, we are assigning you protected status. Class 7. This means Council military forces will escort your vessels and defend your colonies until you are sufficiently established in Council space. Sarah felt a mix of relief and unease. Protection sounded good. Earth's first colony ships were already en route to New Horizon, a planet in the outer reaches. Having military escorts would definitely help. The Vexthari have volunteered for this duty, Velshara added. They are a noble warrior species with centuries of experience. Your people will be safe with them. 3 days later, Sarah met Commander Takal of the Vexthari for the first time. He stood nearly 7 feet tall, reptilian in appearance with golden scales and amber eyes. He wore ceremonial armor that gleamed like bronze. A long sword hung at his hip, more decoration than weapon in an age of energy shields and plasma cannons. Ambassador, Takal said, bowing slightly. It is my honor to guard your people. We're grateful for your protection, Commander, Sarah replied. Takal's eyes studied her carefully. I have read about Earth. Your people have accomplished much through diplomacy. It is wise to know one's strengths And our weaknesses? Sarah asked. Every species has them, Tikal said diplomatically. The Vexithari were once like you, fearful of conflict, preferring words to action. Then we learned that the galaxy is not always kind. We developed our warrior traditions to protect ourselves and others. Sarah felt that same urge to correct the misunderstanding. The Vexithari thought humans were afraid of fighting. That was almost funny, given humanity's bloody history. But she held her tongue. Let them think what they wanted. It was better than being seen as aggressive. When do we leave for New Horizon? She asked instead. The colony ships depart in 2 weeks. My fleet will escort them. You have my word, Ambassador. No harm will come to your people. Tikal meant every word. To him, this was a sacred duty, even if he privately considered it an easy assignment. Protecting a peaceful species required vigilance, certainly, but not the skills needed for true combat. His warriors would guard the humans, teach them the basics of self-defense, and eventually, the humans would find their own path. He had no idea how wrong his assumptions were. The convoy traveled through hyperspace without incident. 5 colony ships, each carrying 10,000 humans, supplies, and equipment. Tikal's fleet surrounded them. 12 warships, each crewed by Vexithari warriors trained in the ancient combat traditions. They maintained perfect formation, their ships gleaming and proud. Inside the colony ships, the humans went about their business. Families prepared for their new lives. Engineers checked systems. Medical staff organized supplies. And in the cargo holds of 3 ships, carefully secured and catalogued, sat the equipment for the United Nations Space Command Marine Corps training facility. 200 Marines were among the colonists. They wore civilian clothes during the journey. They helped with loading. They played with children in the recreation areas. They didn't look like warriors because they weren't trying to, but in their minds they were already scanning for threats, mapping defensive positions, and preparing for scenarios that the Vexithari had never considered. Sergeant Marcus Webb sat in the mess hall of Colony Ship 3, eating reconstituted eggs and reading a manual on his tablet. The title read, Defensive Strategies for Low-Gravity Environments. Next to him, Corporal Lisa Zhang was playing a game with a 6-year-old girl, making funny faces to hear her laugh. Think we'll actually need the training facility? Zhang asked between giggles. Webb shrugged. Brass thinks we might. Better to have it and not need it. The Vexithari seem pretty confident they can protect us, Zhang said. Yeah, Webb agreed. They seem like good people. But you know what they say? Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Outside the viewport, stars stretched into lines as the convoy jumped through hyperspace. New Horizon waited ahead, a fresh start for 50,000 humans. They would build homes, farms, and cities. They would raise children and live in peace, and if peace failed, they would do what humans had always done. They would adapt. They would fight. They would survive. Because the Galactic Council had made one critical error. They had mistaken humanity's choice for peace as an inability to wage war. They were about to learn the difference. The convoy emerged from hyperspace near New Horizon. The planet hung in space like a jewel, mostly blue with 2 large continents. Perfect for colonization. Safe, the Council had promised. Tikal stood on his bridge, watching the colony ships begin their descent. May your people thrive here, humans, he said quietly. Under our protection, you will know peace. He had no idea that in 18 months this world would become a lesson for the entire galaxy. A lesson written in fire and blood. A lesson about what happens when someone threatens humanity. The countdown had begun. 18 months had transformed New Horizon from empty wilderness into a thriving colony. The first city, named Providence, spread across the eastern continent's coastline. 50,000 people called it home now. Children played in parks. Markets bustled with activity. Farms stretched into the interior, growing earth crops in alien soil. It was everything the colonists had dreamed of. Colonel James Rodriguez stood on the balcony of the Marine Training Facility, watching the sunrise paint the sky orange and purple. At 43, his hair was more gray than black, but his body remained hard from decades of service. The facility sat on a hill overlooking Providence, a deliberate choice. Marines needed to see what they were protecting. Beautiful morning. Sir, Lieutenant Commander Ashley Price said, joining him with 2 cups of coffee. Every morning here is beautiful, Rodriguez replied, taking the cup. Makes you forget there's a dangerous galaxy out there. Price smiled. The Vexithari haven't let us forget. Tikal runs drills every week. Rodriguez had grown to respect Commander Tikal over the past year. The Vexithari took his duty seriously, even if his tactics seemed more like performance art than practical warfare. Honor challenges, formal formations, ship-to-ship duels between captains. It was all very impressive and completely impractical. Any word from command? Price asked. Nothing new. Keep training. Stay ready. Same as always. What Rodriguez didn't mention was his growing concern. The Vexithari were good people, brave and honorable, but their warfare was ritualized, predictable. If something truly dangerous came to New Horizon, Rodriguez wasn't sure the Vexithari could stop it. That's why the 200 Marines trained every day, running scenarios the Vexithari would consider dishonorable, ambush tactics, guerrilla warfare, total combat. The alarm shattered the peaceful morning. Rodriguez's communicator screamed to life. All stations, this is Vexithari Command. Unknown ships emerging from hyperspace. Multiple contacts. This is not a drill. Rodriguez and Price sprinted inside. The command center exploded with activity. Screens showed 12 ships dropping out of hyperspace at the system's edge. They weren't Council designs. Krail Raiders, one of the technicians identified. Confirmed IFF signatures. They're heading straight for us. Rodriguez felt ice in his veins. The Krail Collective was infamous. Pirates, slavers, and worse. They operated outside Council jurisdiction, raiding protected colonies for hostages and supplies. They'd hit 3 other worlds in the past year. Get me Tikal, Rodriguez ordered. The Vexithari commander appeared on screen, already in his armor. Colonel Rodriguez, we are moving to intercept. Please begin evacuation protocols immediately. All civilians to the underground shelters. Commander, let us help. By Marines, with respect, Colonel, this is a matter for warriors. Your people are not trained for this. Tikal's expression softened. Please protect the civilians. That is your duty. The screen went dark. Rodriguez wanted to punch something. Instead, he turned to his staff. You heard the commander. Begin evacuation, but I want 2nd platoon on surface patrol. 3rd and 4th, you're on shelter security. 1st platoon with me. Sir, the commander said. Price began. The commander said to protect civilians. Rodriguez interrupted. That's exactly what we're going to do. Above New Horizon, the battle began. The Vexithari fleet moved into formation, 12 ships against 12. Beautiful and precise. Tikal's flagship broadcast the traditional challenge, an invitation to honorable combat, ship against ship, captain against captain. The Krail response was immediate and brutal. They broke formation, scattered, and attacked from multiple vectors simultaneously. No honor, no rules. Pure chaos. Tikal fought bravely. His crew performed admirably, but they were trying to have a fencing match while their opponents played rugby. 3 Vexithari ships took heavy damage in the first 10 minutes. The Krail pushed through. They're landing troops, the sensor officer reported. Multiple drop ships heading for Providence. Tikal felt shame burn in his chest. He had failed. Ground forces prepare for combat. Protect the humans at all costs. The first Krail dropship slammed into Providence's main square. The doors blew open and 20 Krail warriors poured out. They stood 8 feet tall, 4-armed, covered in thick gray hide. They carried energy weapons and wore minimal armor. They didn't need much. Most species ran when they saw Krail coming. The square was empty. Civilians had evacuated like civilized people should. The Krail commander, Grath, laughed. Cowards hide below ground. We dig them out. Take hostages. Command wants 500 for ransom. His unit spread out, moving toward the nearest shelter entrance. They'd done this before. Break the door, throw in gas grenades, drag out the crying civilians. Easy work. Grath never saw the Marine who shot him. The bullet hit him in the shoulder, spinning him around. Another round hit his leg. Grath crashed to the ground, confused. What was this? Not energy weapons. Something else. Something primitive. Contact. One of his warriors shouted before his head exploded in a spray of blood. Suddenly, the empty square wasn't empty anymore. Humans appeared from buildings, from rooftops, from behind vehicles. They wore armor the color of dirt and stone. Their weapons barked and flashed. The Krail tried to return fire, but the humans were everywhere and nowhere, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. Sergeant Webb led Fireteam Alpha from the roof of an apartment building. His rifle felt good in his hands, familiar and deadly, suppressing fire. Keep them pinned. Corporal Zhang's team flanked from the left, using the market stalls for cover. They moved like they'd trained to move, smooth and fast. The Krail weren't used to prey that fought back. In 90 seconds, half the Krail unit was down. The rest tried to retreat to their dropship. They didn't make it. Lieutenant Price had positioned her team at the ship, rigging it with explosives. When the Krail ran back, she detonated. The ship went up in flames, taking 3 more Krail with it. Grath lay bleeding in the square, watching his unit die. This was impossible. The humans were protected species, weak, afraid of combat. But these humans moved like veteran warriors. They used tactics Grath had only seen from the most feared species in the galaxy. A human stood over him, female young, with hard eyes. "Corporal Zhang, stay down," she said. "You're a prisoner now. You are protected species," Grath gasped. "You fear war." Zhang smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Oh, we don't fear war. We're just really good at it. That's why we stopped." Across Providence, the scene repeated. 5 Krail dropships had landed. 5 Krail units expected easy prey. Instead, they found 200 United States Marines who had trained their entire lives for this exact moment. The Marines used every trick in the book: overlapping fields of fire, coordinated movement, psychological warfare. They didn't just defend. They hunted. And the Krail, for the first time in decades, felt what it was like to be hunted. Colonel Rodriguez directed the battle from the command center, watching feeds from all sectors. 3rd Platoon, enemy unit retreating to your position. Cut them off. 1st Platoon, that building is taking fire. I want suppression on that Krail position now. His orders were precise, efficient, brutal. This wasn't war as ritual. This was war as science, perfected over centuries of human conflict. Commander Takal finally broke through the Krail fleet. His ship was damaged, his crew exhausted. He rushed to land his ground forces, expecting to find Providence in ruins and humans in chains. Instead, he found Marines directing Vexthari troops to prisoner collection points. The Krail warriors sat in zip ties, disarmed and defeated. Marine medics worked on both human and alien wounded. The efficiency was startling. Takal found Rodriguez supervising the cleanup. "Colonel, what happened here?" Rodriguez looked at him. "We defended our people, Commander. That's what Marines do. But your casualties, 3 wounded, none critical. We got lucky." Takal looked around. Krail bodies everywhere. Human Marines calmly securing the area. This wasn't luck. This was something else entirely. "You said your people fear combat." "No, Commander," Rodriguez corrected gently. "We never said that. Your council assumed it." "There's a difference." Takal felt his world shifting. "You are warriors." "Yes," Rodriguez admitted. "Very good ones, actually. We just decided to stop being warriors a long time ago. But we remember how." Above them, the remaining Krail ships fled into hyperspace. Their raid had been a complete disaster. They'd expected an easy target. Instead, they'd kicked a hornet's nest. In his ship, the Krail fleet commander sent an urgent message back to the collective. "Abort all operations near human space." "Repeat, abort all operations. The humans are not what the council thinks. They are not prey. They are predators." But the message came too late. The Krail collective's leadership had already been humiliated. Their pride was wounded, and pride, as humans knew well, often led to stupid decisions. The war was just beginning. Commander Takal's flagship orbited New Horizon, its hull scarred from battle. In the medical bay, Vexthari doctors treated wounded warriors while human medics worked alongside them, sharing techniques and supplies. It was strange to see the 2 species working together so seamlessly after such chaos. Takal stood in his ready room, staring at a holographic display. It showed the battle statistics, and the numbers made no sense. The Krail ground force, 120 warriors. The human defenders, 200 Marines. Krail casualties, 97 dead, 23 captured. Human casualties, 3 wounded, 0 dead. It was impossible. The Krail were feared throughout the galaxy as brutal close-quarters fighters. Yet the humans had massacred them with almost casual efficiency. Takal had watched the battle recordings a dozen times. What he saw contradicted everything he knew about protected species. A chime announced a visitor. "Enter," Takal said. Colonel Rodriguez stepped inside, still in his combat gear, though the fight had ended hours ago. He looked tired but alert, eyes scanning the room out of habit. Takal recognized that behavior now. It was what warriors did, constant awareness. "Always ready, Commander," Rodriguez said. "You wanted to see me?" "Please sit." Takal gestured to a chair designed for human proportions. "I have many questions." Rodriguez sat waiting. His posture was relaxed, but Tikal could see the coiled readiness beneath. Like a predator resting between hunts, how did you do it? Tikal asked simply. How did untrained civilians defeat a Krail assault force? Rodriguez's expression didn't change. Untrained civilians didn't, Commander. United States Marines did. Marines, Tikal repeated the word. Your profile said you were colonists, civilian settlers. We are colonists, Rodriguez agreed. But first we're Marines. Always have been, always will be. I do not understand the distinction. Rodriguez leaned forward. Commander, do you know why Earth has protected status? Because your species evolved past the need for violence, Tikal said. Your extensive peace institutions, your avoidance of military conflict for over a century. All evidence points to a naturally peaceful species. We're not naturally peaceful, Rodriguez said quietly. We chose peace. There's a difference. Tikal's head tilted, confusion evident. You chose? Let me show you something. Rodriguez pulled out a tablet and placed it on the desk. Images appeared in the air. Battlefields, cities in ruins, soldiers covered in mud and blood, weapons that ranged from primitive to terrifying. This is human history, Commander. Real human history. Tikal watched in growing horror as the images progressed. Trenches filled with corpses, cities reduced to ash, weapons that poisoned the air and burned the sky. This is your species. World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, the resource wars. Rodriguez's voice was steady, almost detached. We've been fighting wars for our entire existence. We got very, very good at it. The images showed tactics that made Tikal's blood run cold. Flanking maneuvers, ambush techniques, siege warfare, total war concepts where entire populations became targets. This is not honorable combat. No, Rodriguez agreed. It's not. We don't fight for honor, Commander. We fight to win. We fight to survive. Tikal watched footage of something called the Battle of Stalingrad. Millions dead, a city destroyed, soldiers fighting in ruins, room by room, floor by floor. Madness, he whispered. Yeah, Rodriguez said. It was, and we did it to ourselves over and over. We refined warfare into a science. Combined arms tactics, psychological operations, guerrilla warfare, strategic bombing. We developed weapons that could destroy our entire planet. We came very close to using them. Then what stopped you? We looked at what we'd become, Rodriguez said. We'd turned war into an art form, and it was killing us. So we made a choice. We put down the weapons. We built the United Nations, the peace treaties, all those diplomatic institutions your council found so impressive. We chose peace, Commander, but we never forgot how to fight. Tikal felt like his understanding of the universe had shifted. Your council application, the historical records we reviewed, were all true, Rodriguez interrupted. We've maintained peace on Earth for over a century. We've reduced our military forces. We've focused on diplomacy, but we didn't eliminate our warriors. We didn't erase our knowledge. We just put it away, hoping we'd never need it again. But you trained, Tikal said. You're Marines. Of course we trained. Peace is wonderful, Commander. But it only works when everyone agrees to it. We hoped for peace. We prepared for war. Rodriguez gestured to the window where New Horizon hung in space. When we sent colonists to a new world, we made sure some of them could defend the others if needed. Tikal pulled up another file. I have been studying your military doctrine. What I find disturbs me greatly. How so? There are no honor codes, no rules of engagement that respect the dignity of the opponent. Your warfare is, Tikal struggled for the word, efficient, brutal, designed purely to destroy the enemy as quickly as possible. That's exactly right, Rodriguez said. In our history, honor got people killed. Following rules while your enemy ignored them got you conquered. We learned to fight without restraint when necessary. What you describe is not war, Tikal said, his voice shaking. It is slaughter. Sometimes, Rodriguez admitted. But that's what real war is, Commander. Not the ritualized combat your people practice. Real war, war for survival, has no room for honor. You fight with everything you have. You use every advantage. You show no mercy until the enemy surrenders. Because if you lose, your people die. Tikal stood agitated. The Vexithari have maintained our honor for 2,000 years. We have fought wars without descending into barbarism. Have you fought wars or have you fought duels? Rodriguez asked. Commander, the Krail didn't follow your rules today. They attacked from multiple vectors. No honor challenges. No formal combat. They came to take hostages and kill anyone who resisted. And you responded in kind, Takal said. We responded appropriately. We defended our people using the most effective means available. And because we were willing to fight without honor, we won. The silence stretched between them. Finally, Takal sat back down. I must report this to the council. I know, Rodriguez said. I'm not trying to hide what we are, Commander. But I need you to understand something. He leaned forward, his eyes intense. We don't want to be warriors anymore. We chose peace because we're tired of war. We've seen what war does. It destroys everything it touches. We came to the stars hoping to leave that behind. But you brought it with you. We brought the knowledge with us. The capability. Because the galaxy isn't safe and we won't let our people be victims. Rodriguez stood. We'll defend ourselves, Commander, always, but we don't want to fight your wars. We just want to live in peace. Takal watched the human leave. Then he turned to his communications console and began composing a message to the Galactic Council. His hands shook as he wrote. The galaxy had made a terrible miscalculation. Humanity wasn't a species that feared combat. They were a species that had mastered combat so completely, so brutally, that they'd terrified themselves into seeking peace. But the Krail didn't understand that. The message from the Krail Collective arrived 3 hours later. It was broadcast across all council channels, impossible to ignore. The Krail Collective demands justice for the massacre of our warriors on New Horizon. The humans under council protection have violated galactic law by using excessive force against a legitimate salvage operation. We demand reparations of 1 billion credits and the surrender of the human military commanders for trial. If these demands are not met within 10 standard days, the collective will consider it an act of war against our people. Takal read the message with growing dread. The Krail were calling their raid a salvage operation. They were claiming victim status, and they were threatening war if humanity wasn't punished. The worst part? They were mobilizing their full war fleet, 500 ships, against a human colony defended by 200 Marines and 12 damaged Vexthari vessels. Takal opened a channel to Rodriguez. Colonel, we have a problem. Rodriguez appeared on screen. I saw the message, Commander. How bad is it? The Krail are sending their war fleet. 500 ships. They will arrive in 10 days. And the Council? Meeting now? But Colonel, Takal hesitated. They may decide to sanction humanity to avoid a larger war. Rodriguez was quiet for a moment. If the Council abandons us, we'll fight anyway. We didn't come to the stars to surrender. Against 500 ships? Commander, I don't know if we can win that fight. But I promise you this. We'll make them regret starting it. Takal closed the channel and finished his report to the Council. He included everything. The battle recordings, the human military doctrine, the true nature of humanity's relationship with warfare. He ended with a warning. We have not discovered a peaceful species. We have discovered a warrior species that chose peace. If we force them to become warriors again, the consequences will reshape the galaxy. He transmitted the report and waited. The Galactic Council would decide humanity's fate. And depending on that decision, the Krail might learn what humanity had learned long ago, that some species were better left alone. In Providence, the Marines were already preparing. They'd won one battle. The war was coming. The Galactic Council chambers had never been so tense. All 7 representatives sat in their positions, but the usual calm dignity was gone. Arguments flew back and forth, translated into a dozen languages simultaneously. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood at the center podium, feeling like she was on trial. Jakarn struck his speaking staff against the floor, demanding silence. Order! We must have order! The chamber quieted. Ambassador Chen, the Council has reviewed Commander Takal's report. We have also received the Krail Collective's demands. This situation is unprecedented. The Krail attacked us, Sarah said firmly. We defended ourselves. That's not a crime. The manner of your defense is what concerns us, Velshara said, her crystalline form pulsing with agitated light. The recordings show brutality we have not witnessed in civilized space for centuries. The recordings show my people refusing to be victims, Sarah countered. The Krail came to take hostages, to enslave our citizens. What would you have us do? Submit. You could have retreated to the shelters and waited for the Vexthari ground forces. Another representative suggested. This was Krell. a species that resembled an enormous turtle. Your civilians would have been safe underground. For how long? Sarah asked. The Krail have breached shelters before. They would have gassed us out, dragged our children into their ships. I've seen the reports from the other colonies they've raided. Would you have us simply accept that fate? You used excessive force, Krell insisted. 97 enemy casualties against 3 wounded on your side. That ratio suggests not defense but slaughter. Sarah felt her temper rising. Would you prefer if more of my people had died? Would that make it more acceptable to you? Enough, Jakarn interrupted. The issue is not whether humanity had the right to defend itself. The issue is that humanity's military capability was grossly misrepresented. You received protected status under false pretenses. We didn't lie, Sarah protested. You made assumptions. We have maintained peace for over a century. We do have extensive diplomatic institutions. Everything in our application was true, but incomplete, Velshara said. You did not mention that your species has refined warfare to a degree that makes even the Vexathari look primitive. Because we're trying to leave that behind. Sarah's voice echoed through the chamber. We came to the stars hoping to be better than we were. You classified us as peaceful, and we were happy to be seen that way. But that doesn't mean we forgot how to protect ourselves. The chamber fell silent. Finally, Jakarn spoke again. The Krail fleet will arrive at New Horizon in 9 days. They are demanding your surrender and reparations. They claim that if we do not sanction humanity, they will attack not just New Horizon but other Council worlds. They're bluffing, Sarah said. Perhaps, Jakarn agreed, but the Krail Collective controls 500 warships. Our entire Council defense force numbers 300 ships, scattered across 24 systems. If the Krail commit to war, we are not certain of victory. Sarah saw where this was going. You're considering abandoning us. We are considering our options, Velshara said gently. The survival of the Council itself may be at stake. So you'd sacrifice 50,000 humans to avoid a fight? We would sacrifice 50,000 to save billions, Krell said bluntly. It is the logical choice. Sarah looked around the chamber. Some representatives wouldn't meet her eyes. Others looked genuinely pained. But she could see the calculation happening. Humanity was expendable. They'd been in the Council for less than 2 years. Better to lose them than risk a war with the Krail. There is another option, Jakarn said slowly. A compromise, though it may not save your colony. I'm listening, Sarah said through gritted teeth. We grant humanity temporary military autonomy for the defense of New Horizon. You may deploy whatever forces you wish. Use whatever tactics you deem necessary. If you can repel the Krail fleet, you will have earned your place in the Council. If you cannot, Jakarn spread his arms. At least the Council will not be implicated in your defeat. Sarah felt cold. You're throwing us to the wolves and hoping we're tough enough to survive. We are giving you a chance, Velshara said. More than we have given other species in your position. And if we win, then humanity will be reclassified. Protected status will be revoked. You will be recognized as a military-capable species with full defensive rights. And if we lose, silence. Sarah took a deep breath. I need to contact Earth Command. You have 8 hours before we vote, Jakarn said. Use them wisely. 6 hours later, Sarah stood in the communication room of the Council station, watching as Earth's military leadership appeared on screen. Admiral James Warren looked like someone had carved him from granite. Next to him was General Patricia Okonkwo, Supreme Commander of the United Nations Space Command. They're abandoning us, Sarah said without preamble. We heard, Warren replied. The vote passed 3 hours ago. Humanity has military autonomy for New Horizons defense. Can we win this? Against 500 ships? Okonkwo shook her head. Not with what's already there. Rodriguez has 200 Marines and 12 damaged Vexathari vessels. It's not enough. So we evacuate, Sarah said. Get our people out. Not enough ships or time, Warren said. And the Krail would just chase them down. They want blood now. They've been embarrassed. Then what do? Okonkwo leaned forward. We send the first expeditionary force, 15,000 Marines, 50 warships. Everything we can get there in 8 days. Sarah felt hope flicker. Will that be enough? Honestly? Probably not. The Krail still outnumber us 10-1. Okonkwo smiled grimly. But we're not planning to fight their kind of battle. What do you mean? The Krail expect honorable combat, ship-to-ship engagements, formal tactics. They think they're fighting a war. Warren's expression was hard. They're not. They're fighting Marines. And Marines don't do war. We do victory. I'm promoting Rodriguez to general, Okonkwo continued. He'll have total tactical authority. No council oversight. No rules of engagement. He fights this battle the human way. Sarah understood what they were saying. You're unleashing everything we've tried to leave behind. We're defending our people, Warren corrected. That's always been the mission. Peace is wonderful, Ambassador, but when someone threatens our families, we remember who we used to be. The Council will see this as proof that we're dangerous. Let them, Okonkwo said. Right now, I don't care what the Council thinks. I care about the 50,000 humans on New Horizon. And I care about teaching the Krail that humanity is not prey. The transmission ended. Sarah sat alone in the dark room, thinking about what was coming. The expeditionary force would arrive in 8 days, just as the Krail fleet did. New Horizon would become a battlefield, and the galaxy would see what humans were really capable of when pushed. She thought about the history Rodriguez had shown Takal. The wars, the death, the brutal efficiency of human warfare. They'd spent a century trying to evolve past that. Now they were going back, but maybe that was necessary. Maybe the galaxy needed to learn that humanity's peace wasn't weakness. It was a choice. And when that choice was taken away, when someone forced humanity to fight, the results would be terrible. On New Horizon, Rodriguez received his promotion and his orders. He read them twice, then called his senior staff together. The expeditionary force is coming, he announced. We'll have 50 warships and 15,000 Marines, against 500 Krail vessels. Still not great odds, Lieutenant Price said. No, Rodriguez agreed. But we're not fighting for victory in the traditional sense. We're fighting to make the Krail regret ever hearing about humans. He pulled up tactical displays. The Krail use swarm tactics, overwhelming numbers. Standard pirate doctrine. They'll expect us to form defensive lines around the planet, fight a traditional engagement. We're not doing that? Sergeant Webb asked. Hell no, Rodriguez smiled, and it wasn't a pleasant expression. We're going to do something the Krail have never seen. Something no council species would consider. What's that, sir? We're going to hunt them. The plan unfolded over the next several hours. It was audacious, brutal, and completely contrary to galactic military doctrine. The other officers listened with growing amazement. Sir, Price said when he finished, this is going to make us look like monsters. Better to be feared than dead, Rodriguez replied. The Krail think they're coming to punish a helpless colony. They think humans are easy prey. We're going to teach them different. Over the next 8 days, preparations consumed New Horizon. Civilians were moved to reinforce shelters. Defensive positions were established. But most importantly, the expeditionary force arrived and began training operations with Rodriguez's Marines. Commander Takal watched it all with fascination and horror. The humans didn't train like soldiers. They trained like predators. Every movement calculated for maximum efficiency. No wasted effort, no honor duels or formal challenges. Just cold, hard preparation for violence. You really think you can win this? Takal asked Rodriguez the day before the Krail were due to arrive. Win? Rodriguez shook his head. Commander, we're not trying to win. We're trying to send a message. What message? Rodriguez looked up at the stars where the Krail fleet would soon appear. That humanity chose peace, but if you take that choice away from us, you'll wish we hadn't. The Krail war fleet emerged from hyperspace like a storm rolling across the stars. 500 warships ranging from nimble destroyers to massive dreadnoughts filled the space at the system's edge. On the bridge of the flagship destroyer of Hope, war leader Krath surveyed his armada with satisfaction. Magnificent, he growled. All 4 of his arms gestured at the displays showing his fleet in perfect formation. The humans will see this and despair. His second-in-command, Vrel, consulted the tactical display. Sensors show 50 human vessels in orbit around their colony world. They are maintaining standard defensive positions. Only 50, Krath laughed, the sound like grinding rocks. They came to defend with 50 ships against our 500. Their courage or their stupidity, I cannot decide which. Perhaps both, war leader. Broadcast our demands, Krath ordered. Let them hear our terms before we destroy them. The communication officer transmitted on all frequencies. Humans of New Horizon. You have violated Krail sovereignty by attacking our salvage teams. You will surrender all military commanders to Krail justice. You will pay reparations of 1 billion credits. You have 1 standard hour to comply. If you refuse, we will take what is ours by force and your colony will burn. The human response came within seconds. It was brief. Only 2 words. They appeared in text on every Krail screen, no audio, no elaboration. Semper Fivrel looked confused. What does this mean? Krath pulled up the translation database. The words were from an ancient human language, Latin. The full phrase was Semper Fidelis, always faithful. It was the motto of the human Marine Corps. It means they refuse, Krath said. Good, I was hoping they would fight. He raised his primary arm. All ships advance to engagement range. Maintain formation. When we reach optimal distance, we will overwhelm them with a single glorious charge. Today, the Krail Collective reminds the galaxy why we are feared. The fleet moved forward. 500 ships in perfect formation, an unstoppable wave. The human ships remained in orbit, not moving, apparently waiting for the inevitable. War leader, the sensor officer said suddenly. The human ships are powering down weapons. They surrender? Krath couldn't believe it. No, sir. They are going dark. Minimal power signatures. They are disappearing from active sensors. Impossible. We can still see them visually. Visual confirmation shows ships in position, but active scans are not returning proper signatures. It is as if they are hiding. Krath felt the first stirring of unease. Hiding in plain sight? The Krail fleet continued its advance. As they crossed into the inner system, passing the 4th planet, the human ships finally moved. But they didn't form a defensive line or prepare for traditional engagement. They scattered, 50 ships breaking in 50 different directions, using the debris field around the 4th planet for cover. What are they doing? Vrel asked. This is not proper formation. They run, Krath decided. Cowards breaking ranks. All ships pursue and destroy. Show no mercy. It was exactly the wrong decision. The human ships didn't run. They hunted. The UNSC warship Relentless drifted silently in the shadow of an asteroid. Captain Maria Santos watched her displays as a group of 10 Krail destroyers passed within firing range, chasing what they thought was a fleeing human vessel. Now, she whispered. Relentless lit up, full power to weapons and engines simultaneously. At point-blank range, she fired everything into the rear of the nearest Krail destroyer. The ship's shields never had a chance. The destroyer exploded, debris slamming into 2 of its neighbors. Before the Krail could react, Relentless disappeared back into the asteroid field, going dark again. 3 kills. Minimal damage to us, her weapons officer reported. Find another target, Santos ordered. Keep moving. Never stay visible for more than 60 seconds. Across the battlefield, 49 other human ships were doing the same thing. No formation, no honor, just ambush after ambush. The Krail fleet, designed for overwhelming frontal assaults, suddenly found itself fighting ghosts. On the destroyer of Hope, Krath watched his fleet disintegrate. Every few minutes, another ship disappeared from his tactical display. The humans were everywhere and nowhere. They'd strike from cover, destroy 1 or 2 ships, then vanish before his forces could retaliate. Reform the fleet, he ordered. Tight formation. They cannot ambush us if we stay together. But gathering 500 ships took time, and the humans used every second. They rigged damaged Krail vessels with explosives, turning them into drifting bombs. They hacked into Krail communications, sending false orders and sowing confusion. They targeted command ships specifically, decapitating Krail tactical coordination. This wasn't warfare as Krath understood it. This was slaughter made systematic. War leader, we have lost 90 ships, Vrel reported. His voice shook. And we have yet to destroy a single human vessel. Impossible. They are too fast, too unpredictable. They do not follow any doctrine we understand. A human ship appeared on their port side, so close it almost touched the destroyer of Hope. It fired a full broadside into the flagship's shields before disappearing back into space. Alarms screamed as shields collapsed. Return fire! Krath roared. But the human ship was already gone. General Rodriguez watched the battle from New Horizons command center. The tactical display showed controlled chaos. His ships were taking damage now. 3 had been destroyed, 7 more badly damaged, but the Krail were bleeding worse. Sir, enemy fleet is attempting to reform around their flagship, his tactical officer reported. Expected, Rodriguez said. Let them gather. It'll make the next phase easier. Next phase, sir? Rodriguez smiled grimly. We've been picking off stragglers. Now we go for the main formation. He opened fleet-wide communications. All ships, this is Rodriguez. Execute hammer strike in 60 seconds. Hit them hard, hit them fast, then get out. Make every shot count. The human fleet converged from multiple vectors simultaneously. Not in formation. Not following patterns. Just 37 ships attacking from 37 different angles at the exact same moment. The Krail formation, tightly bunched for mutual protection, became a liability. Human ships dove through gaps firing at point-blank range, using the Krail vessels as cover against each other's weapons. Missiles launched from one vector arrived at the same time as mass driver rounds from another, overwhelming shields through pure coordination. Rodriguez had studied every battle humanity had ever fought. He'd learned from Hannibal at Cannae, from Napoleon at Austerlitz, from Patton in France. He'd combined centuries of tactical evolution into this single moment. The Krail called it chaos. Rodriguez called it combined arms warfare. The hammer strike lasted 4 minutes. When the human ships withdrew, they destroyed another 60 Krail vessels and damaged 50 more. Human losses: 4 ships destroyed, 12 damaged. Krath stared at his tactical display in disbelief. His fleet was shattered. 300 ships remained combat-capable out of 500, and they'd barely scratched the human forces. War leader, Vrel said quietly, we should retreat. Retreat? Krath's pride rebelled against the word. The Krail Collective does not retreat. If we stay, we will be destroyed. Krath looked around his bridge. His crew stared at him, waiting. They were terrified. The humans had done something no enemy had ever managed. They'd made Krail warriors afraid. A transmission came through. It was audio only, a human voice speaking in accented Krail. War leader Krath, this is General Rodriguez. You came to punish us. You came to teach us our place. But you made a mistake. You believed the Galactic Council when they said we were weak. We're not weak. We're just tired of fighting. I will destroy your colony, Krath growled. Every ship I have will bomb it until nothing remains. You can try, Rodriguez said calmly. But you'll have to get past us first. And I promise you, war leader, every ship we destroy will hurt the Krail Collective's reputation more than retreating ever could. The galaxy is watching this battle. Right now they're seeing the mighty Krail armada getting torn apart by 50 human ships. How much more embarrassment can you afford? Krath said nothing. Here's my offer, Rodriguez continued. Leave now. Take your survivors and go. Tell the Krail Collective that humanity is not prey. Tell them that if they attack us again, we will bring this fight to their worlds. We will show them what human warfare really means. You threaten us? Krath tried to sound strong, but his voice wavered. I'm giving you truth, war leader. We didn't want this fight. We wanted peace. But you forced our hand. Now you have 2 choices. Retreat with some dignity or stay and let us destroy what's left of your fleet. Either way, this battle is over. The silence on the destroyer of Hope's bridge was absolute. Finally, Vrel spoke. War leader, our warriors deserve to survive this day. There is no shame in acknowledging a superior enemy. Krath felt his pride breaking. But beneath the pride was fear. These humans fought like nothing he'd ever encountered. They were efficient, brutal, completely without mercy or honor. If he stayed, they would destroy him. He knew it with certainty. Fleet, he said slowly. Prepare for hyperspace jump. We are withdrawing. In the command center, Rodriguez watched the Krail fleet begin to retreat. His officers cheered. He didn't. He felt only exhaustion and sadness. Should we pursue? His tactical officer asked.